The Square Ball Podcast.
Welcome to the show, brought to you with Levi Solicitors. 10% discount on your legal fees, levisolicitors.co.uk/the Square Ball. Three of us here to talk about Wolves now. Dan, Michael, and Moscow Lights. To the Black Country, Friday night. I've been to Wolves. I went on a Sunday afternoon/evening, ahead of a wedding in October.
Did we stay at the same travel lodge, or did you go Premier Inn?
I really went up market, went Premier Inn.
Absolutely.
It's the Premier Inn right next to the station. It's close to the ground, actually.
Complete show off.
It's got a fantastic ring road as Wolverhampton. To be fair, you can get around the whole city centre quite quickly. Just off that, and we stayed in a Premier Inn that used to be part of like a low-level station that's next to the high-level station. Fascinating chat.
Lovely.
And ate in a sort of a budget pub next to it that was attached to the hotel.
The way you live.
And that is that's my adventure in Wolverhampton. That's the extent of my recce. But this guy, what's the name of the guy who's the Wolves fan, the American guy? You know that's right,
Mr. Miami.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to his post-match take on.
He only does the away games, doesn't he? So we're not gonna have the benefit of him. But I might I might see what he's been doing.
Okay.
I'm interested to know what he makes of some. I mean, how many trips to London can he do, I suppose, in the Premier League? That's the thing. It's do you keep it local if you go to... Do you have to just like stick to North London for certain trips? But I'll see what he's been up to. If it's anything interesting, you can hear next week.
What do you reckon to this game, then? I think it's quite a tough one to call because we've shown definite signs of improvement. You could see Wolves, as they play with wing-backs, causing us problems, but you just don't know what's going to happen now, do you, week to week, really? We're trying to sort of formulate a brand new data set, if you like, about what sort of a performance you're going to get out of Leeds.
I've kind of been expecting Wolves to drop all season, and they just don't seem to be. They're actually, I think they might be legitimately good, and I've entirely discounted them on the basis that they weren't very good at Ellen Road.
I'll tell you what we're going to see lots of rolling around, because our players do the new Jesse Marsh SARD German acronym, all in, is part 2 of that, where, as we saw against Norwich, there's quite a lot of leaving your foot in. I reckon there's going to be quite a lot of Raul Jimenez leaping in the air. You see him doing it the other day?
I did indeed, yeah. He got... John Joe Kenny sent off, didn't it, against Everton?
I mean, it was a pretty bad tackle.
It was a bad tackle, but it wasn't as bad as he was making out. Was the thing that any contact he does spend an awful lot of time on the ground. It's interesting actually from Internet Charlatans, WhoScored.com. Strengths, given they are 7th in the league, 4 points off the Champions League places, their only strength is protecting the lead.
Right. So don't let them get in front.
Which means basically pretending to be injured and taking ages over stuff.
Yeah, if their players were genuinely as hurt as they make themselves out to be, you'd need a fleet of ambulances at every game. But they are, as a team, good, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, the thing is, they've done, I think, this season what we kind of did last season, which is to win a handsome number of games, but not draw many, and that's the difference between what we've done this season and last season. Like we've, I'm just having a look at our record. We're 6-8-15 at the minute, win, draw, loss. They are 1-14, only drawn 4, but lost 11. So they lost quite a fair amount of games, really.
Yeah, they had a struggle because the weird thing with Wolves, like their ownership kind of goes onto the radar a little bit, but the messages coming back from, it's kind of China via Portugal, and the reason they got rid of Nuno was they just didn't think they were entertaining enough. I don't know if everybody's aware, but there is a fashion WW in China is a fashion brand attached to Wolves, so they sell high fashion off of the Wolves name.
Is this a bit like the whole Nike, Air Jordan, Paris Saint-Germain glamour that we see attached to that football club?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, but in Wolves.
There's a good video of in the Nuno era of the players and him going over there for a runway show.
We should say WW, by the way, is their shirt sponsor, or did we mention that? If we didn't, there you go.
Well, there's also Wolverhampton Wanderers. I think that's so. I don't know if there's but then.
Or is it some crap casino? Anyway, I'm confusing shirt sponsors. Carry on.
But there's a whole. I hadn't even considered the shirt sponsor, where that comes from.
Is it W8 or something? Forget it. Anyway.
I don't know. But it's all tied together. There is a lot of non-football business kind of dependent on Wolves, not necessarily winning stuff, but being fun and being a fun brand. So they wanted this guy to kind of make things happier. And he tried that, but then started losing loads of games. So he's had to cool it down and has now found a way of winning games and being entertaining. You could see some of it. I watched their game against Everton, and the number of times that they will do kind of a chest pass and a back heel to each other just when they're keeping the ball is noticeable. But they also combine it with, I think this is why once they go ahead, they win so many games, with just like not really seeming arsed. They're really good, I think. Neves and Moutinho are two really, really good midfielders, and they can do anything with the ball. But they're just not that bothered about all-out attack and really pushing against a team and going for the win. That was from this game, but then I was reading afterwards that the manager had said that their game plan for this was they expected a reaction from Everton, so they deliberately took the first half easy and concentrated on just keeping it tight to see what Everton would do, and then they were going to go for it in the second half, and that's when they scored one goal. And just like, well, we don't need to do much more, and we're a little bit wary of what.
Shut it down, dive around a bit.
They do adapt based on the opponent. Apparently, that's one thing that the coach, it's Eddie Large's brother, isn't it? He has
one for our international and youth listeners there.
That he has going for him is he'll work really hard to prepare the team for the next opponent. So he'll have done all the research on Marsh that Brendan Rodgers tried to claim credit for. And have something, but and yeah, they are strong. It worries me a bit. I'm not expecting much from this game because the goalkeeper's really good. Connor Cody is a good defender. They're really good at playing three at the back. Neves and Moutinho are really good. They're not really hot shots in attack. They don't score loads, but they might not need to if they keep it tight. But it'll be up to us to see how much pressure we can put them under and what pressing them does, because Everton just didn't bother.
It'll be interesting to see how our new style goes up against them, because it felt like, in a way, they were a good side to play against a Bielsa team because they were very pragmatic and tried to just break up a game as much as possible, and probably score off a set piece or something. It feels like we have got that in us now, probably, or at least we'll try to, even if we aren't as well drilled as them. Just the possibility that we might actually be able to out-shithouse them to a degree is kind of an interesting idea, which it felt like it was beyond us before, didn't it?
Yeah, we were too pure.
Although we might have just, scored loads of goals and played in a fun way, which would also have been quite nice.
Yeah, it feels like we've got more of a grind in us than maybe we had previously, and this feels like a game where we might need to grind a bit. Like you were saying...
Their sponsor, by the way, Dan, is ManBetX. So I've no idea.
Okay.
I've absolutely no idea what we were talking about.
They used to have a big W on the front of their shirt.
Palace have got the W sponsors, isn't it? I've got
Wolves.
Palace are also sponsored by ManBet. Would you believe?
Is the logo a W though?
Somebody's got a W somewhere.
No, they're the number one bookmaker in Hong Kong.
Oh,
so there you go.
Great bunch of lads.
Sure, it's entirely legit.
Forget that then. Forget all that chat about W's. Somebody's had a W once on their shirt, and that's all that I know.
Probably true. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I was going to say, grinding. Like you were saying, Moscow, actually, the Wolves-Watford game, you expected that to be a bit of a grind, and it wasn't. It was actually a bit of a walk in the park for Wolves. Because you said it was going to be two teams who were going to try and grind out a 1-0. Didn't pan out like that.
I don't know why I was saying that. I don't know what I'm talking about. I've just found a picture of a shirt with a big W88 Wolves shirt.
Oh, there you go.
That's it, W88. Very similar to WW.
Yes, that was 2019, so it's only 3 years.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Is there a picture of Steve Bull wearing that?
It was a graphic designer who created a wolf head motif for Wolves Wanderers shirt said it was impossible he had copied a school design from the 1960s.
What do we need to do against Wolves then? What do you think we need to do? How do we stop them causing us trouble? Midfield, is it again?
Plays in the proper position. I think that made a difference against Norwich, and I'm willing to see it again. I thought Click was really good against Norwich. Him and Forshaw looked fairly steady in the middle. Again, the usual Norwich caveats. I know every single one of those Wolves players is better than every single one of the Norwich players, which is going to make things a lot more difficult. But yeah, people in actual positions, and hopefully we'll see at least another 45 minutes of Bamford, because even though he missed a really good chance, I thought he did make a huge difference, and he did lay one on a plate for Rafinha as well.
Because the interesting thing for me here is, it's midfield. If they've got those three in the middle, if it's Dendoncker, Neves and Moutinho, is how do we deal with that?
With everyone in the middle, which is what we do now.
To squeeze the space in the middle.
All the wingers in the middle.
All in. Finished in. Benched. I'm sorry, I'm fascinated by this club badge story. So Peter Davies claims he drew the logo at school nearly 60 years ago.
Is this the Wolves logo?
Yeah, and entered it in a competition. He said that he wrote to the club in 1979 complaining about the use of his design, but received no response and did not pursue the matter at the time. But then he took it to court in 2019. And I don't know how it turned out, but the Wolves are obviously saying that they designed their logo in 1979, and it was impossible for them to have seen his school drawing. Yes, it was thrown out in the end, but that's a bold.
It's like deleting the emails, isn't it?
It's a bold.
We wiped the server.
It's a bold old copyright claim to say.
Hey, did you see it? Mind you, when
I told you in 1979 that I drew that, and I'm still here asking for my money.
See, Arsenal flipped around the direction of the gun on their badge, didn't they? Because they couldn't copyright the old one or whatever. Went from facing left to right or vice versa.
He said that he drew the wolf head design in the early 1960s after a teacher asked him to demonstrate an understanding of Blaise Pascal's hexagrammum mysticum theorem, and he entered it in an art competition advertised in the Express and Star. And he was making a copyright claim and wanted compensation. But Mr. Justice Negee, who oversaw the High Court trial in London, said he would have to pick up his own lawyer's bills, plus the lawyer's bills run up by Wolves.
Ouch.
Which lawyers estimate could be around £450,000.
That feels like a crowdfunding situation, doesn't it? Jeez. I'm just looking at their badge. Yeah, the hexagonal badge, not very social media friendly these days, is it? You want to go for a circle these days, I think.
I've got to say, I've always had quite a soft spot for the Wolves badge.
Yeah,
I think it's
nice. You probably owe this guy some money now.
I've only looked at it.
He says that he suggested that the designer of the 1979 motif had links to those art competition judges from the early 60s.
Wow. Who knew it was such a conspiracy?
Deep state Wolves.
Whereas the Leeds badge was like, sort of Ridsdale did it. Seems to be about as much as you get on the Leeds design.
Wilkinson, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Howard Wilkinson. Said he liked the Italian national team's design.
Who drew it, though?
He said he sketched it out after a bottle of wine.
That's where all good ideas come from.
And then there's obviously who drew the other one. No one's ever admitted to the salute badge, have they? Because obviously a company was involved in that, and they've just gone, no. Yeah. We will never work again. Let's not mention that we did that.
Our partners at. Yes.
Yeah.
If it was you and you want to just let us know, we won't tell anyone.
One thing was pointed out to me by a designer friend who we all know. It was saying that not only was the design for that bad, but it would have aged terribly as well. It was a really kind of short-lived style that it was designed.
We've already criticised Radrizzani on this. Yeah. Let's not upset him anymore. I know he still loves that badge.
But it's still a shit idea.
It's still a shit badge. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is really. And I'm kind of glad it happened though.
It was funny, and at least we're not stuck with it. Eh? It could have been worse. He could have. To Radrizzani's credit, he did listen to people when everybody else other than him went, "Fucking hell, that's awful." that's the worst thing anyone could have drawn.
Right. So. Back to Wolves then, and thoughts for this one then, Michael, the pessimist. What happens?
We will lose.
Moscow, the optimist. What will happen?
Draw.
And I just winging it now on blind hope. I did say some weeks ago that I don't think I'd ever predict another win this season, but I'm going to do it. I might as well just complete the set and say we're going to go there and win. And we've used Norwich as the springboard for the start of the Jesse Marsh era, and we build on it and we shithouse our way to a well-deserved victory in the Black Country on Friday.
Anything at all would be great because it'd just keep a bit of momentum going, wouldn't it, into a more winnable home game.
Yeah, I concede that a draw is probably a good result from this when you look at the fixtures where we can pick up points. But the ability to cut ourselves a huge amount of slack this season, it's massive, isn't it? If we win this, then it just makes all the rest of it so much more palatable.
Does it all really depend on Jack Barnes' attendance, though, as well? Our TSB Plus member who's got in touch. He says he's a Wolverhampton native who's lived overseas for 5 years. And
you've missed out the brackets there. He says, unfortunate, I know, about being a Wolverhampton native.
Or some things go without saying, don't they? He says he tries to attend games while it's over, usually away games, which has been difficult lately. But his last two games were Villa 2, Leeds 3 in Bielsa's first season, and Birmingham 4, Leeds 5. And I promised myself never again, but I've got tickets for the Wolves game on Friday in the home end.
That means it's got to be, according to the pattern, it's got to be 6-7.
Well, this is it. And he says that after seeing the Norwich game, I'm dreading another thriller. I'll be one Brynlorgasm away from getting my head kicked in. So maybe it's for the best if we just get a boring 0-0 and
it does feel a bit
Jack can survive.
It does feel a little bit fighty around Wolves as well when I've been. It's got a slight menace about it as Wolverhampton. So yeah, be quiet.
So, yeah, basically. So I think a point will do, and Jack's health are the two big targets from this game.
Okay, we'll see how it goes then. And that wraps up part 2 of the show. We'll do, of course, propaganda and the match ball for Wolves, a late one on Friday. So make sure you join us for that and stick about. Part 3 of the show this week's Heroes and Villains coming next.
The Square Ball Podcast.